Modern superbikes are fast. They are also packed with restrictive emissions equipment, fly-by-wire throttles that mute the engine's true personality, and traction control systems that act like a digital babysitter. Back in the 1980s, manufacturers were locked in an absolute unhinged engineering war. Gear-driven cams, factory turbochargers, chassis built to last a lifetime. Today we count down 20 legendary machines from the 1980s that still humiliate modern bikes at their own game. Raw mechanical soul, bulletproof reliability, pure power to weight violence. Kicking off the countdown. At number 20, 𝐏𝐄𝐑 Elephant 650, 1985. We open with the machine that most people have never heard of, and that is exactly the problem. The 𝐏𝐄𝐑 Elephant 650 is a genuine Paris-Dakar rally raid machine wearing road-legal plates, built during the era when the Dakar Rally was run on actual dangerous terrain by manufacturers who were trying to kill each other on the sporting stage. 𝐏𝐄𝐑 took a 649cc air-cooled 𝐑𝐄𝐀𝐑 V-twin from the Ducati Panta engine program and dropped it into a rugged, long-travel dirt chassis that was designed to absorb massive desert impacts at speed. The heavy-duty, long-travel Marzocchi front forks are the part pointer, built to a standard of impact resistance that modern adventure bike forks, with their elaborate electronic adjustment systems, simply cannot approach in terms of field-repairable simplicity. The comparable modern machine is the Ducati Desert X. Beautiful, electronically sophisticated, and dependent on a diagnostic computer to sort out its suspension glitches in the field. The Elephant offers the raw rumble of a classic, carbureted Ducati Desmo motor paired with tough, simple off-road hardware. You can service in the middle of nowhere with the tools in your pack. On the used market, you are looking at $5,000 to $7,500 for an authentic piece of rally raid history. For the vintage adventure enthusiast who wants a rare, historical platform with the unforgettable sound and soul of an old-school Italian V-twin, this is the machine. Most people walk right past the Elephant because they have never heard of it. The machine coming up is famous for the opposite reason. Everyone who has ridden one remembers exactly what it felt like and keeps looking for reasons to buy another one. Stepping up to number 19, Yamaha SRX 600, 1986. The SRX 600 is what happens when Yamaha's engineers strip a motorcycle down to the absolute minimum and ask one question: what is the ideal machine for a skilled rider on a tight mountain road? The answer is 595cc air-cooled, 4-stroke single making, modest power wrapped in a chassis. So well sorted and lightweight that it embarrasses heavier, more powerful machines through technical sections. The minimalist under-engine exhaust muffler box is the part pointer, designed to keep weight tucked low and centrally positioned. A packaging decision that makes the handling feel almost telepathic when you push it through switchbacks. Compare it to the modern Yamaha MT-03. The MT-03 is a fine machine, but it carries considerably more weight, more wiring complexity, more plastic, and a riding experience filtered through modern safety compromises. The SRX 600 delivers the motorcycle as a mechanical concept in its purest expression, narrow, light, direct, and rewarding in direct proportion to the skill you bring. These go for $3,500 to $5,000. On the used market, a bargain for what amounts to a rolling philosophy lesson about what a motorcycle actually needs to be. For the canyon carver, who values mechanical satisfaction over bragging rights, this machine is the correct answer. The SRX 600 proves a motorcycle does not need complexity to be satisfying. What comes next proves the exact opposite point with equal conviction. Honda bolted a turbocharger and fuel injection to a V-twin in 1982 and somehow made it work. Rolling into number 18, Honda CX500 Turbo, 1982. In 1982, Honda built a turbocharged, computer-controlled, fuel-injected motorcycle and sold it as a road bike. Let that land. This was 2 years before most manufacturers had basic fuel injection on any production motorcycle, and Honda had already combined it with forced induction. The 497cc turbocharged liquid-cooled 80-degree V-twin is the engine, and the computerized fuel injection module, the part pointer, is the technology. The CFI system used redundant pressure sensors to constantly manage intake boost, an approach to closed-loop engine management that would not become standard across the industry for another decade. What it does is that the modern Honda NC75OX cannot. It surprises you. The NC75OX is deliberately boring in the name of economy, The CX500 turbo wraps, a small commuter architecture around a high-tech system that doubles its power output the moment boost kicks in. Hunt one down for $4,500 to $6,500. For the tech-minded enthusiast who wants to own one of the most complex and adventurous engineering experiments Honda ever successfully brought to market, this machine is one of a kind. Honda spent enormous engineering effort building something genuinely unusual. The machine just ahead spent that same effort in a completely different direction. 6 cylinders, a sump the size of a small suitcase, and the riding experience of a grand piano in motion. Arriving at number 17, Kawasaki Z1300, 1980. In 1980, Kawasaki decided that the appropriate response to the luxury touring segment was to build a 6-cylinder motorcycle the size of a small car and give it the refinement of a grand piano. The result was the Z1300, the most over-engineered touring machine of its era and one of the most liquid-smooth, large displacement engines ever fitted to two wheels. 1,286 cc liquid-cooled double overhead cam inline 6. The massive square oil sump casing is the part pointer designed to hold over 6 quarts of engine oil for maximum thermal protection through extended high-speed touring. This engine was built as if Kawasaki expected it to run continuously for months without a service stop. The modern Kawasaki Versys 1000 is a very good motorcycle. The Z1300 is a monument. The 6-cylinder engine runs with practically zero vibrational buzz, feeling like a premium luxury vehicle on the interstate, in a way that modern parallel twin tourers, for all their sophistication, cannot match for sheer presence. These go for $8,000 to $12,500, significant money, but you are buying a collector-grade engineering statement. For the muscle bike collector looking for a heavy, smooth, 6-cylinder touring machine that handles like a freight train and sounds like a church organ, this is it. 6 cylinders of buttery highway refinement sounds appealing until you hear what Kawasaki did with 4 of them. Dropped a detuned superbike motor into a cruiser chassis, gave it a shaft drive, and pointed it at sport bike riders who thought they were safe at traffic lights. Pressing on to number 16, Kawasaki ZIL 1000 Eliminator, 1987. The Kawasaki Eliminator is a short answer to a long question. What happens if you take the engine from a race-derived superbike, detune it slightly, drop it into a cruiser chassis with low bars and a relaxed riding position, and sell it to people who want to look cool but also want to embarrass sport bikes? At stoplights, the answer is 997 C liquid cooled inline 4, derived directly from the Ninja ZX-10 engine program. The shaft drive assembly is the part pointer, connecting that high RPM superbike motor to the rear wheel through a maintenance-free final drive that survived decades of hard acceleration without complaint. The red line sits at 10,000 RPM in a cruiser in 1987. The modern Kawasaki Vulcan S uses a mild parallel twin for comfortable riding. The Eliminator uses a detuned superbike motor that screams to its red line and leaves modern entry-level cruisers in tire smoke. It predated the term power cruiser by a decade, which technically makes it the original. At $3,500 to $5,000 on the used market, it is extraordinary value. For the rider who wants the relaxed ergonomics of a classic standard but cannot stomach a mild-mannered engine underneath them, this is the machine that solved that problem before everyone else tried. Subscribe right now. If this list is already changing how you think about the motorcycles you can buy right now for under $10,000. Every week, we cover the machines the mainstream industry has forgotten. Do not miss it. Swinging into number 15, Honda XR 600R, 1985. The XR 600R won the Baja 1000 multiple times, not because it was lucky or because the competition failed, because Honda built it to be the most durable, most heat-resistant, most reliably starting desert racing machine that the engineering department could conceive. 591 cc air-cooled dry sump, single cylinder, the radial 4-valve, combustion chamber, head layout. The part pointer was Honda's proprietary solution to the heat dissipation problem that destroys other engines in extended desert running. The radial valve arrangement maximized airflow symmetry into the combustion chamber while keeping exhaust heat away from the intake side. The dry sump oil system stores lubricant in the frame, tubes away from engine heat, meaning the critical oil stays cooler during extended high-temperature desert abuse. The modern Honda CRF 450 RL is a fine machine, lighter and faster in a straight line. But the XR 600R can run for hours in deep sand, in brutal heat, and start reliably on the first kick when you finally stop. $3,000 to $4,800 for the off-road explorer who wants a classic dual sport that pulls through sand. All day without a modern machine's electronics deciding to complicate things. This is the definitive answer. The XR600R was built for people who race across deserts. Up next is a machine built for people who race across Italy, which turns out to require an entirely different kind of madness. Dropping down to number 14, Moto Guzzi Le Mans 3, 1981. Moto Guzzi mounts their V-twin engine longitudinally, in the frame, cylinders sticking out, sideways into the airstream like a flat twin aircraft engine. Not an accident, a deliberate engineering philosophy that produces unique dynamic characteristics no other manufacturer has replicated. 844 cubic centimeters. Air-cooled longitudinal 90-degree V-twin. The cylinder barrels, slicing directly out into the airstream, are the part pointer positioned for optimal cooling. By the very act of moving forward the way, a radial aircraft engine is cooled by the propeller wash. The heavy flywheel engine creates a gyroscopic torque reaction. When you blip, the throttle that settles the machine into high-speed sweeper corners with a rail-like stability that lightweight modern nakeds, which have no such mass to draw on, fundamentally cannot replicate. The modern Moto Guzzi 585 TT is a worthy descendant, but the Le Mans 3 is the original expression of the formula, cafe racer lines, that longitudinal V-twin torquey reaction working in your favor through corners, and a mechanical character that rewards experienced riders who understand what they are feeling through the bars. $6,500 to $9,500 for the classic European bike enthusiast who wants long-legged touring capability mixed with genuine cafe racer styling. The Le Mans 3 is an experience with no modern equivalent. The Le Mans rewards patience and experience with a riding character unlike anything else. What follows rewards neither. It just hits you with a two-stroke power band that rearranges your priorities the moment the revs build. Landing at number 13, Suzuki RG 500 Gamma, 1985. Suzuki looked at the Grand Prix. Two-stroke racing program looked at the regulations governing what could be sold as a road motorcycle and apparently found a gap large enough to drive the ARG 500 Gamma through. 498 cc twin crank, square 4, two-stroke. This is the engine configuration from Suzuki's actual RG 500 Grand Prix machine. Detuned, and the word detuned is doing significant lifting in that sentence for road use. The 4 rotary intake valves fed by side-mounted carburetors are the part pointer, a disc valve induction system that controls the intake timing with mechanical precision borrowed directly from the racing program. With 0 4-stroke Valvetrain inertia, the square 4 revs like an electric saw, offering a power delivery experience that the modern Yamaha YZF-R1, for all its electronic sophistication, cannot replicate because it operates on fundamentally different physical principles. The two-stroke power band is a specific physiological experience, a flat approach, then a sudden surge that rearranges your relationship with physics. $18,000 to $25,000. These are now high-end collector machines, and the price reflects it. For enthusiasts who want the absolute peak of Grand Prix two-stroke performance on a road-registered machine, there is nothing else remotely like it. The RG500 costs $25,000 because collectors understand exactly what it is. The machine just ahead costs a fraction of that and is arguably more terrifying to actually ride, which tells you something about what Suzuki was charging for the race pedigree versus what Honda was charging for the experience of nearly dying on dirt. Revving up to number 12, Suzuki RGV 250 Gamma, 1989. The 1989 Suzuki RGV 250 Gamma stands as an undisputed masterpiece of the two-stroke era, capturing the essence of Grand Prix racing for the street. Born during the fierce sport bike battles of the late 1980s, this machine was a direct descendant of the track weapons piloted by legends like Kevin Schwantz. At its heart lies a liquid-cooled 249cc 90-degree V-twin two-stroke engine. When fully de-restricted, this frantic power plant delivered roughly 60 horsepower, unleashing a banshee wail as the needle swung past 10,000 revolutions per minute. What made the Gamma so legendary was not just its engine, but its obsessive focus on lightweight performance. Tipping the scales at a mere 282 pounds dry, the power-to-weight ratio was staggering for its time. The aluminum twin-spar chassis, dubbed the Cowbox frame, provided razor-sharp handling that allowed riders to carry immense corner speed. Dual front disc brakes and a highly adjustable rear suspension system completed the race replica package. Riding the VJ21 generation Gamma demanded high skill. the power delivery was famously peaky, requiring the rider to keep the engine boiling in the upper rev range. Below 7,000 revolutions per minute, it was docile, but once it hit the power band, the front wheel would eagerly reach for the sky. Visually, the motorcycle was a stunner. The full-fairing, twin expansion chamber exhausts exiting on the right side, an aggressive stance made it look fast even while parked. It embodied a magical era when top-tier Japanese manufacturers spared absolutely no expense to bring legitimate, high-level Grand Prix racing technology straight to the public showroom floor. Over 30 years later, the thrilling riding experience remains pure, analog, and deeply intoxicating, completely free of the complicated electronic riding aids that largely define modern sport bikes. Depending on the condition, mileage, and originality, used values typically range from $7,000 for a running project to over $15,000 for a meticulously maintained, mint-condition specimen. It remains an unforgettable icon of a bygone motorcycling golden age. Just ahead is a machine built under financial pressure by a company that apparently decided the best response to nearly going bankrupt was to build something so focused and uncompromising that it embarrassed everyone else in the class. Ticking up to number 11, Ducati 750 F1, 1985. The Ducati 750 F1 was built by a company that was, at the time, in genuine financial difficulty, and somehow that pressure produced one of the most focused, characterful, mechanically pure sport bikes of the entire decade. 748cc air-cooled 𝐷𝐄𝐑 L-twin. The chrome alloy steel trellis frame is the part pointer, hand-TIG welded, hugging the Desmo cylinder C heads tightly, a structure that was as much sculpture as engineering. Desmodromic valve actuation means the valves are closed mechanically as well as opened, no valve springs, no float-related power loss at the top of the rev range. The modern Ducati Supersport 950 is refined and electronically sophisticated. The 750 F1 has no digital throttle mapping, nothing between your right hand and the front tire's contact patch except mechanical linkage. It transmits every road surface ripple directly through the bars in a way that modern sport bikes filter out because most riders find the unfiltered version alarming. The F1 riders who know what they are doing find it addictive. $14,000 to $20,000. These are significant money and worth every cent of it. For the classic track day enthusiast who wants a historic, hand-assembled piece of Italian racing engineering that handles like an extension of their own nervous system, nothing else makes the case like the F1. The F1 is hand-assembled Italian sculpture that costs a fortune and requires a skilled rider to appreciate fully. Coming up is a machine that costs a fraction of that, weighs considerably more, and is beloved by the drag racing community specifically because it laughs at the kind of abuse that destroys everything else. Hit that like button. Right now, we are in the top 10, and every machine from here is a genuine legend that the industry will never build again. One tap helps push this toward every rider who needs to see what the 1980s actually produced. Entering the top 10, at number 10, Suzuki GS 1150 E 1984. The GS 1150E holds a specific place of honor in the modified motorcycle community. It is widely considered the toughest naturally aspirated engine block of the 1980s, the one that the drag racing and custom tuning communities gravitated toward because it survived punishment that destroyed everything else. 1,135 cubic centimeters, air and oil, cooled 16 valve inline 4. The immensely thick, heavily reinforced aluminum box section swing arm is the part pointer, built to resist the twisting forces of hard acceleration from an engine that was producing far more torque than the sport bike formula of the era normally demanded. The engine itself features a legendary forged crankshaft and heavy-duty iron cylinder liners that can handle massive turbo or nitrous builds without cracking. The modern Suzuki GSX-S1000 uses thin-wall aluminum castings that are light, efficient, and tuned for the performance it needs to deliver. The GS 1150E uses overbuilt metallurgy from an era when engineers were not yet optimizing for minimum weight, they were optimizing for maximum durability. For the hot rod builder, these two approaches produce very different answers. When you start bolting forced induction onto them, $4,000 to $6,000. For the hot rod builder who wants a raw, standard muscle bike with a legendary engine block that laughs at tuning abuse, this is the foundation. The GS 1150E is a tuner's foundation, an engine block that survives whatever you bolt to it. The machine just ahead came with forced induction already installed from the factory, which is either Kawasaki being ahead of its time or Kawasaki losing its mind, depending on how you feel about waiting for the boost to arrive. Surging into number 9, Kawasaki 𝐺𝐃𝐑 Turbo, 1984. The 1980s factory turbocharger era was brief, extraordinary, and never repeated. Honda, Yamaha, Kawasaki, and Suzuki all tried it. Only one of them, Kawasaki, produced a turbocharged motorcycle that experienced riders now consider addictive to ride rather than merely interesting as a historical artifact. 738cc turbocharged inline 4. The Hitachi HT10B turbocharger is the part pointer mounted low and up front, close to the exhaust ports, specifically to reduce turbo lag to the minimum achievable with the technology of the time. The result is a boost delivery that still has perceptible lag, followed by a freight train power surge, and this is the feature, not the bug. The modern Kawasaki Ninja ZH2 uses a supercharger rather than a turbocharger, and the ZH2's electronic management system smooths the power delivery into a seamless, linear surge that is impressive and somewhat characterless. The 𝐺𝐃𝐑 Turbo announces what it is doing. You wait, the wastegate closes, the boost arrives. Your relationship and with the road changes. $7,000 to $10,000. $500 for a machine that nobody else will have. For the boost enthusiast who wants rare, forced induction history that still feels fast. When the turbo spools up, the 𝐺𝐃𝐑 is the authentic article. The 𝐺𝐃𝐑 Turbo is a machine you appreciate once the boost arrives. The machine coming up has no turbo, no electronics, and no patience. Just 491 cubic centimeters of two-stroke single that breaks traction in every gear on every surface, which apparently was the design brief. Barreling into number 8, Honda CR500R 1985. Everything relevant about the Honda CR500R can be understood. From one fact, when Evel Knievel needed a stunt motorcycle that would start reliably and survive whatever happened, he chose a Honda two-stroke. The CR500R is the machine that made that reputation. 491cc liquid-cooled two-stroke single. The sweepingly curved two-stroke expansion chamber exhaust pipe dominates the side profile and is the part pointer, a pressure wave engineering system whose shape directly dictates the power band characteristics. Longer pipe, lower power band, shorter pipe, more top end. Honda's engineers spent considerable time getting this geometry right. The modern Honda CR F450R is the CR500R beaten on outright speed in most measurable categories. But there is nothing in the modern off-road market that delivers the CR500R's specific brand of explosive, instantaneous power delivery, the type that breaks traction or lifts the front wheel in any gear on any surface without asking permission. Four-stroke dirt bikes, for all their sophistication, feel lazy by comparison. $5,500 to $8,500 for the experienced off-road rider who wants the ultimate test of throttle discipline and raw physical engagement. This is the benchmark. The CR500R is raw enough that most people are relieved when the ride is over. The machine just ahead made people feel the opposite way. A design so striking that riders would stand and look at it for 10 minutes before even sitting on it, which was not an accident. Tearing through. At number 7, Suzuki Katana GS1100S 1981. The Katana GS1100S arrived in 1981 and made every other motorcycle on the market look like it had been designed by a committee. The design team was Target Design. In Germany, the same firm that was styling concept cars for BMW, and they produced something that looked like it had escaped from a futuristic weapons manufacturer. 1074cc air and oil-cooled 16-valve inline 4. The twin-swirl combustion chambers, the part pointer, were machined directly into the cylinder head to maximize flame front velocity, a combustion optimization technique that Suzuki had borrowed from their racing program. The legendary GS1100 motor uses a roller-bearing crankshaft block that handles massive horsepower, with a durability that modern lightweight cases simply cannot match for sustained high-torque applications. The modern Suzuki Katana 1000 is a nostalgic nod to this machine's visual legacy, a stylish, competent modern naked with Katana graphics. The original GS1100S is the source material, the actual thing, with the original Target Design bodywork and an engine block that the custom community has been exploiting for 40 years without running out of headroom. $6,000 to $9,000. For the rider who wants the timeless Target, design aesthetic. Wrapped around a bulletproof engine block built for sustained high-speed performance, there is nothing else remotely like the original Katana. The Katana proved that motorcycles could look like weapons. The machine just ahead proved they could go anywhere. Rivers, mountain passes, desert tracks, and come back without needing a laptop to diagnose what broke on the way. Breaking ground at number 6, BMW R80G/S 1980. The BMW R80G/S is not just a good motorcycle. It is the reason the adventure touring category exists. Before the R80G/S, there were touring bikes and there were dirt bikes, and they did not speak to each other. BMW combined them in 1980 in every GS, Africa Twin, Tiger, and V-Strom that followed those, a direct philosophical debt to this machine. 797 cc air-cooled boxer twin. The monolever, single-sided swing arm is the part pointer. By combining the rear suspension with the drive shaft, casing into a single structural unit, BMW slashed unsprung weight and simplified the rear end to a degree that made the whole machine feel more agile than its weight suggested. At 410 pounds wet, it is vastly lighter and narrower than modern adventure machines. The modern BMW R1300GS is the direct descendant, electronic suspension, cornering ABS, multiple ride modes, price starting at over $19,000. The R80G/S comes in at $9,000 to $14,000. And if something goes wrong in the field, you can fix it with a basic tool set. No laptop, no error codes. For the hardcore overland rider who values absolute simplicity and wants a machine that will not strand them over a faulty electronic sensor 300 miles. From the nearest service center, the R80G/S is still the correct answer. The R80G/S invented an entire category and then watched every manufacturer spend 40 years trying to improve on it. What comes next was not trying to invent anything. It just wanted to cover 2,000 miles of highway with the smoothness of a turbine and the price of a used car. And it succeeded. Subscribe. Right now, we are in the top 5. And the machines from here are the ones that changed everything. Do not leave before the top 2. Roaring into the top 5. At number 5, Yamaha FJ 1200, 1986. The FJ 1200 answers a very specific question. What does perfect look like for a sport touring machine? If you optimize for effortless long-distance highway, performance above everything else. 1,188 cc air-cooled 16-valve inline-4. The lateral frame concept. Perimeter. Steel rails are the part pointer, wrapping cleanly around the outside of the engine block, transferring loads efficiently while keeping the center of gravity low and the mass tightly centralized. The air-cooled motor delivers a massive wave of roll-on torque from as low as 2,500 RPM, allowing highway overtakes without downshifting, while the heavy steel frame sits rock-solid in turbulent crosswinds that push lighter, modern machines around their lanes. The modern Yamaha Tracer 9GT is technically superior in measurable categories, but it vibrates at highway speeds in ways the FJ 1200 does not. And its torque curve asks more of the gearbox than the FJ's immense low-end grunt. The FJ 1200 covers ground at a sustainable pace that larger displacement, lazy engines achieve, and smaller, higher revving engines cannot. $2,500 to $4,000 absurdly cheap for what the machine delivers. For the budget-conscious sport touring rider who wants to stack thousands of highway miles on a bulletproof machine without paying modern sport tourer prices, the FJ 1200 remains one of the most compelling arguments on the used market. The FJ 1200 ate highway miles for breakfast and asked for no credit. The machine coming up ate the competition's lunch by announcing 5 valves per cylinder in 1985, watching the rest of the industry go quiet and then waiting for them to catch up. Charging into number 4, Yamaha FZ750, 1985. Yamaha announced the FZ750 in 1985 with a single claim, 5 valves per cylinder. The rest of the industry looked at this and concluded Yamaha had gone mad. Then they looked at the dyno numbers and quietly went home to reconsider their designs. 749 cc liquid cooled 20 valve. Inline 4, the Genesis engine. The 45-degree forward slanted cylinder block is the part pointer, allowing straight intake paths directly from the airbox into the combustion chambers. 5 valves per cylinder, 3 intake, 2 exhaust provided massive intake. valve surface area that the conventional 4-valve design could not match. The modern Yamaha MT-09 is a brilliant machine with a characterful cross-plane crank triple, but the MT-09 struggles with flat spots in the mid-range due to the compromises required by emissions regulations. The FZ750's Genesis engine delivers a smooth, predictable power curve from the meat of the RPM band with a volumetric efficiency that emissions-era engines have never been permitted to replicate. $3,000 to $4,500 for the classic metric sport bike enthusiast who wants an affordable, historically significant piece of engineering. The machine that established 5 valves per cylinder. As the industry standard for a decade, the FZ750 is the correct purchase. The Genesis engine changed what sport bikes could breathe through. Just ahead is the machine that changed what a sport bike could be. Not an improvement on what existed, but a wholesale replacement of the entire formula with something nobody had seen before. So close. At number 3, Kawasaki GPZ 900R Ninja, 1984. The GPZ 900R Ninja is the motorcycle Tom Cruise rode in Top Gun, and that association has done it a minor disservice because it suggests the machine's significance is cultural when it is in fact engineering. The GPZ 900R did not just look fast, it was the fastest production motorcycle on Earth in 1984. It held the record. Outright, that is what the bike was. 908 cc liquid-cooled 16-valve inline-4. The left side cam chain drive is the part pointer by moving the timing chain to the side of the engine. Rather than the center, Kawasaki narrowed the entire engine profile, significantly tucking it tight into the frame for maximum aerodynamic efficiency and creating a package that could cut through high-speed, highway air with far less buffeting than contemporary machines. The modern Kawasaki Ninja 1000 SX is a magnificent sport tourer, but it is taller, heavier, and more aerodynamically blunt than the GPZ 900R, designed when every dimension mattered for top speed. The GPZ 900R slices through high-speed winds with a low-slung stability that modern machines have traded for comfort and luggage capacity. $5,000 to $8,000. Strong money for a 40-year-old machine, but it is a strong machine. For the collector who wants the ultimate 1980s pop culture icon that can still comfortably pull past 150 miles per hour without drama, the GPZ 900R is irreplaceable. The GPZ 900R Ninja is the machine that defined the modern sport bike. The one just ahead is the machine that experienced riders argue was actually better. Not faster, not more powerful, but built with a gear-driven cam system and a mechanical character that the industry has been trying to replicate ever since. And up at number 2, Honda VFR 750F Interceptor, 1986. The VFR 75 OF is the machine that experienced riders recommend to each other in hushed, reverential tones. It has appeared on nearly every list of the greatest motorcycles ever built, compiled not by nostalgic collectors who have not ridden a modern machine, but by riders with extensive seat time on current bikes who have made the direct comparison and reached the same conclusion. The VFR 75 OF's engine character has not been surpassed. It has been traded away for different priorities. 748 cc liquid-cooled 90-degree V4. The gear-driven camshaft train is the part pointer. No rubber belts or timing chains. Here, just a cascade of precision-cut gears, spinning the cams with absolute mechanical timing accuracy. No timing chain tensioner to fail, no chain to stretch, no belt to snap. The gear train on a properly maintained VFR 75 OF will outlive every other component. On the motorcycle, with no timing chain tensioner to fail or rubber belt to snap, the gear train delivers razor-sharp throttle response across the entire rev range. The engine sings with a high-pitched mechanical wail that gets louder and more intense the harder you push it, a sound the industry spent decades trying to replicate and never managed. $3,500 to $5,500. That price range is one of the most remarkable value propositions in motorcycling, a machine that experienced riders rate among the greatest ever built, still available for the price of a basic modern commuter. For the long-distance sport rider who appreciates exotic, racing-derived mechanical engineering and wants a bike that passes 150,000 miles with basic oil changes, the VFR 75 OF is the definitive choice. The gear-driven cam whine at 5,000 RPM is a sound the industry spent decades trying to replicate and never managed. The VFR 750F is the machine experienced riders point to when someone asks what a motorcycle should feel like. The one sitting above it is the machine that decided what every sport bike built in the 40 years since would try to be, and set the bar high enough that most of them are still trying. And the absolute best at number 1, Suzuki GSXR 750, 1985. The 1985 Suzuki GSXR 750 is not just the best motorcycle of the 1980s. It is the machine that created the template for every sport bike built in the 40 years that followed. Before the GSXR 750, sport bikes were heavy, comfortable, and sometimes fast. After the GSXR 750, the entire industry understood that the answer was lighter, stiffer, and more focused. The GSXR 750 was right. It has been right ever since. 749cc air and oil-cooled inline-4. The massive external oil cooler core is the part pointer. Suzuki's advanced cooling system, or SACS, drench the cylinder heads in high-pressure engine oil, bypassing heavy water jackets entirely and saving weight that conventional liquid cooling systems carry as a penalty. This was the technical foundation of a machine that weighed 388 pounds. It is dry, significantly lighter than its modern fuel-injected counterpart. At that weight, with that engine, the original slab side offered something the modern GSX R750 cannot: a telepathic, unfiltered connection to the tarmac with no line of traction control code whatsoever getting in the way. The machine communicated through the bars, through the seat, through the foot pegs, telling you exactly what the tires were doing in real time. Modern sport bikes have electronic systems that can process that information faster than a human can. The GSX R750 gave you the information directly and expected you to process it yourself. $7,500 to $11,000 for a clean original. These are climbing in value because the people who understand what the machine represents are buying them before the rest of the market catches up. For the track day purist who wants to know exactly what it feels like to ride on the ragged edge of physics without a computer deciding how much throttle you are allowed, the original GSX R750 is the gold standard. It was the gold standard when it was made. Nothing since has replaced what it was. The 1980s were a golden era. Factories taking massive risks, building engines to last multiple lifetimes, letting mechanical purity speak for itself. Modern bikes have the edge on paper. They will never match the raw soul of these 20 legends. Continue the ride and click on the next video on your screen. I'll catch you there.